All right, everyone, let's make sure we have a good night tonight because it is quarterfinals time and Novak Djokovic himself is wishing you to have a good night. After he was felt like he was disrespected on the court in his match today versus Holger Rune, we are now into the quarterfinals where we are going to break down the matchups. We've got Sinner versus Medvedev. We've got Alcaraz versus Tommy Paul. We've got Musetti versus Taylor Fritz. And we've got Alex de Minaur versus Mr. Goodnight himself, Novak Djokovic. We're going to break it all down, give you the slice, what you need to know, and to give our preview and prediction for all of the matches. Are you ready? Here we go. Here's the slice presented by Betway. All right. What is up? I mean, this tournament keeps getting better as we go on. The quarterfinals are absolutely stacked. These four matchups are great. And as someone else I saw on Twitter said, the gloves are officially off with Djokovic. Talking to the fans. Let's just get the silly business out of the way first, and then we'll get to the real tennis after this. So I don't know if you were able to watch the Rune versus Novak Djokovic round of 16 match today, where Djokovic won in 3 sets, played a great performance, looked pretty good out there, but was looking physically compromised. And Rune kind of played like a stinker, in my opinion, match. Anyways, the whole backstory is the crowd in America was cheering for Rune, and they go Rune. It's like some cultures just do that. And then back at the U.S. Open like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, Djokovic didn't know what was going on. He thought he was getting booed. And then they were doing it again today. And I guess Djokovic was like giving them like the have a good night before he sat down. And then in the on-court interview, it went absolutely crazy. He said, for those of you who are respecting me, have a good night. And for those of you who are disrespecting me, have a good night, is what he said, which was pretty funny. And I honestly loved it. I would, if I was a tennis player, pro tennis player, I would probably get into it with crowds. It's just like I'm like, I don't mind smack talking. I would probably be that way. And I just thought that I liked that version of Djokovic where it's like gloves off and he's like, screw you guys. If you're not supporting me, I'm going against you. It's me versus the world. So respect to that. What I don't get is not understanding why people wouldn't love you as much as they love other people who don't ever do that type of thing. It's just that blows my mind. Like, obviously, you're going to polarize people when you do this type of stuff. And he said, I don't buy the fact that they were just saying his name Rune. I've been on the tour for 20 years and I know what's going on. So anyways, that was crazy, funny. I'm sure we'll see how the Wimbledon crowds react. I think they're pretty muted. It's like probably the most respectful crowd out of the whole 4 majors. So I don't know if there'll be any hangover to his next match versus de Minaur, who will have some hangover. But anyways, let's run through the quarterfinal matchups and then we will break them down. So we've got on the top, we've got Sinner versus Medvedev. That's a tough matchup. Sinner's got the highest seeded player that he's playing out of the top 4 seeds in Medvedev, and who's I feel been just very quiet in this tournament, going about his business. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. We've got Alcaraz versus Tommy Paul, which is like the ultimate full court athletic shot making match, which I'm extremely excited for. Lorenzo Musetti versus Taylor Fritz in the third quarterfinal matchup. That's awesome. It's like finesse versus power. And I got some thoughts on that based on their previous matches. And we've got de Minaur versus Djokovic. And I'm thinking, who's more banged up? Is that what this match is about? Who's like at the end of the match where de Minaur won, it looked concerning, like he had injured himself on match point. He talked about it. We'll get into that. And then Djokovic has the knee, wasn't looking still, he says he's fine now, but it's still not looking 100% out there. It's just the way he moves. So that match is going to be physical if de Minaur can make it that way, and that should be interesting. So, yeah. If you're new here, welcome to The Slice. I didn't introduce myself. Stephen Boughton, host of The Slice. Thank you for being here. If you haven't yet, smash the subscribe button because we're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers this year, and you become a better tennis player if you subscribe. It's like a weird phenomenon. Okay. Let's look at the matchups. First one, Jannik Sinner versus Daniil Medvedev. Obviously, they've played a lot before. Right now, the head-to-head is 6-5 in Medvedev's favor. But as we all know, Sinner's won the last 5 in a row, including the Australian Open final this year, including a match in Miami. And yeah, Sinner's got his number right now. If you look at the last 5 sets between these two guys, the sets go from nearest to the 5th, 6-2, 6-1, 6-3, 6-4, 6-4 for Sinner. So to me, the question is, how does Sinner hurt Medvedev? How does he hurt him? Because Sinner is, like I've said before, I feel like he's just a little bit shorter, potentially better version of Medvedev at this point. At least more powerful, bigger ground strokes on both wings. His serves maybe not quite as good, but it's getting there. And his movement is amazing. So how does Medvedev hurt Sinner? Because he hasn't been able to in the last couple of matches they've played. I think the tactic for Medvedev has to go big. And that obviously induces its own risk. But we've seen him, if he can go big like he did in the first 2 sets of Australia and just really get into Sinner, and for whatever reason, Sinner doesn't play mature like he did in Australia, where he just goes, you know what, I don't have to beat him with power. I can just play right now. And you can get Sinner kind of going for too much and playing and beating himself a bit. I think that's where Medvedev is going to find the most ability to get Sinner off of his game. Because if Sinner is on top of his game and can be comfortable all match long, I don't see how Medvedev wins this match. Again, Sinner's been my favorite pre-tournament to win the whole thing, and nothing that I've seen this tournament has made me think that should change. I did pick Alcaraz, but that's more of like a gut feeling on the pick. Medvedev is going to have a hard time with Sinner, I believe, because of what I just said. So, anyways, I'm picking Sinner over that one in 3 or 4. But it's going to be interesting because I haven't seen Medvedev play really all tournament, and obviously he's serious. He's a major champion. He's the 5th seed here, which is fair. Fair. Zverev lost. Zverev lost. He wasn't physically able or capable to really play his best today against Fritz, which had its own drama. But Medvedev, you could say, should have been ranked 4 potentially, but it goes on the rankings, and he wasn't 4th in the world. So that is that. Okay, next quarterfinal. You know who it is. Carlitos Alcaraz versus Tommy Paul. Who's playing great? And as we talked about, as you all saw with his coach, who we had on the show, what other place on YouTube are you getting that? Where we, literally talking to pro ATP coaches while the tournament's going on. His grass game is impeccable right now. He's playing super aggressive. Tommy Paul, we're talking about. He plays an all-court game. He feels super comfortable coming forward. Brad Stein said he feels him and Dimitrov are the 2 most aggressive players on the tour right now. And the head-to-head between these 2 guys is 2-2. So Tommy Paul has done it before at big tournaments. They've all 4 of their matches, kind of weirdly enough, have been at Masters 1000s in the last 2 years. So this is going to be a war. This could be a beautiful tennis match, all-court tennis. It's like must-watch. Or it could be, I don't know what else it would be. I can't imagine either of these guys not playing beautiful tennis. So they got the full weaponry. They can both come forward super comfortably. And I think if you're Alcaraz, you need to play a better match than you did against Tiafoe, for example. You can't have these lulls, or at least you don't want to, because Tommy he can really game in any set. He can come back. He can win on a serve. He can hold serve, and he can hurt you on the return. So no set is safe. I don't think Alcaraz can just trot away with this one at any point. But it's going to be interesting. If Alcaraz comes out and plays his absolute best and just like plays at a super high level the whole time, it might be tough, and you never know. Tommy might mentally not be there, and he might get out of his character, but that's going to be interesting. That is the match I'm circling as potentially the most interesting of the quarterfinals, but really they're all 4 amazing. I'm taking Carlos Alcaraz in 4 or 5, just because that's what he seems to be doing in this tournament, but I might catch up with him. 4-5, Carlitos Alcaraz. Okay, Lorenzo Musetti versus clay lore, now grass lore, Fritz, who said, he's been on a roll this tournament. He said, have a great flight home to Rinderknech, and then he just took out Zverev, who apparently, and then Taylor Fritz's girlfriend's like chirping Zverev on Instagram afterwards. Just this tournament is going nuts with drama. Like, let's just be honest with that. That's crazy. Love it. Lorenzo Musetti, just took out Mpessi Pericard, Giovanni GMP, which is what we're calling him. It should be just MP for miles per hour, MPH. Who, if you look at the stats, this guy has won. Like, I watched the highlights. Giovanni Mpessi Pericard has just a massive serve. It was the battle of the one-handed backhands, and to be fair, if you look at the returning stats, this is an interesting thing about Musetti and why I think he can do well. If you look at the returning stats for the tournament, he is. Why don't we just go look at him quick here? Just give you that extra dig, that extra slice. Player statistics. When you go to first serve receiving points 1 and you put it on the screen, who's at the top there? Lorenzo Musetti in 4 matches. First serve receiving points 1. I guess it's just like a total 115. I thought it would have been a percentage, but anyways, second serve return points 1, Musetti at number 1. So I guess that means they've just played a lot of tennis, but it also would show that he's winning a lot of those points on the return. So he's a great returner on the grass surface. He's got a great slice, which helps him with the return, puts it deep, gets the ball in play, and then games. And he's just been playing beautiful tennis on the grass, somehow harnessing the serve from Giovanni Mpessi Pericard and against Taylor Fritz. Taylor Fritz doesn't have as big of a serve as MPH, but he's got a bigger ground game and a more consistent ground game overall, obviously. But if Lorenzo can put pressure on a lot of Lorenzo or Taylor's service games, and he can game him from the baseline, this gets interesting. I think it's a super interesting match. I don't think there's a real clear favorite to me. I think, Taylor might be the slight favorite just based on his serve. But again, Musetti's returning great. So that's going to be an interesting match. I just tweeted out, it wouldn't blow my mind if Lorenzo Musetti won Wimbledon. I don't know why, but there's something, he's just playing great, mature tennis right now, and it's really fun to watch. So I'm actually going to call Lorenzo Musetti, that's my prediction, is winning this one in 5 sets over Taylor Fritz. Fritz has had a little bit of heebie-jeebies. Anyways, but in bigger matches, you saw when he lost to Nadal here at Wimbledon a couple of years ago. This is Musetti's first quarterfinal at a major, and it's getting to the if Taylor was to win this, it would be his first major semifinal. So yeah, this is Musetti's first major quarterfinal, and the winner would be their first major semifinal. So it's a big match. Both guys are going to have nerves for different reasons. Maybe Taylor feels like he's the favorite. Maybe he wants to get to his first semifinal, and Musetti can just play free. Either way, I'm taking Musetti in 4 or 5. Okay, we've got Alex de Minaur versus Mr. Goodnight himself, Novak Djokovic. Obviously, Djokovic, big favorite if all things go well. De Minaur, at the end of the match, looked like he had hurt himself, but I did look up. Tennis Australia was reporting that he said it's fine. He kind of just scared himself a little bit. He felt a bit of a pinch, but afterwards he'd done his cool down and got treatment, and it felt fine, he said. So he's going to have 2 days to rest or 1 day to rest and then play. So we'll see. If he's physically fine, obviously this could turn into a war because he can return, Djokovic can serve. They can both play from the grass. There's no one faster than Alex de Minaur, and he's a baller. So that is going to be super interesting. We'll see how Djokovic's body holds up. I don't like how the way I saw him moving, even today against Runa, who did not play a great match. I think if it gets really physical, it'll be interesting to see. And then you'll just see if de Minaur can just get up to the task of overcoming the mental hurdle it is to beat Djokovic for the first time at a major. It's one thing to do it outside of a major, which he's done this year at the United Cup. The United Cup, United Schlupp, different than Wimbledon. This is Wimbledon. It takes big cojones to beat Djokovic here, as Alcaraz would know. So that is the preview and prediction. My prediction is Djokovic in 4 for the last quarterfinal matchup. It's going to be great. These are amazing quarterfinals. And let me know your thoughts on who's going to win down below. Okay. Ladies, quarterfinal preview. Let's put it up. We got on the top, we got Ostapenko versus Krejcikova. Great matchup. 2 French Open winners, 2 stallions. That's going to be fireworks from Ostapenko potentially. From the back of the court, it's going to be big hitting for sure. Both of them know how to get it done. Both great players. Rybakina versus Svitolina. Again, big hitting. Rybakina is going to be blasting. We'll see if, what type of creativity, what type of assumption of that power that Svitolina can use. But she can obviously play big herself, and that's going to be a tight match. I got really no idea who's going to win either of those matches. I would lean Rybakina would be my prediction, and I would lean Ostapenko would be my prediction on the top half there. The third quarterfinal, Sun versus Vekic. Sun is amazing. I tweeted out, so what? She's just going to go win Wimbledon now? She's absolutely incredible. She dusted Emma Raducanu off the court, hitting so many winners. It's absolutely crazy. Vekic can obviously do that too, but it seems like Sun is just on a different planet right now. So I don't know. That's a qualifier. That's getting crazy. I don't know the stats about qualifiers making the semifinals at Wimbledon, but this is a run that potentially could be history making if she was, obviously Emma Raducanu won the US Open as a qualifier, which was one of the most insane things to ever happen in tennis. We will see what Sun can do. If she can get to Vekic, stories are going to be starting to get written. That is for sure. That's pretty crazy. Okay, Paolini versus Navarro. Last matchup. That's an amazing match. Navarro takes out Coco Gauff, who hasn't figured it out. Was getting into it with Brad Gilbert in the box. That's awkward. We don't know what happened there. Navarro through. She plays Paolini, who's been playing great. I think that Paolini is the better player there. She's found such a great rhythm to her game, just bouncing around, smacking forehands, backhands, super good. So we will see. Last American in the draw, Navarro. I'm rolling with Paolini and Sun to take it to the semifinals. Why don't they ever say the first name? I'd like Lulu. I was forgetting Lulu Sun. She is potentially the story of the tournament if she keeps going a bit deeper, and that's going to be crazy. Anyways, that's a look at the women's draw with predictions and previews. Quarterfinal time. This is where the rubber really meets the road and things get wild. So thanks for being here. Let me know your thoughts on everything we just talked about. Djokovic, good night. Quarterfinal matchups. Podcast coming out tomorrow with JP Hovey. Check it out. Be around it. Thanks for supporting the show and the slice. We will see you next time here on the show.